On a sunny afternoon in February, in Daytona, a man was running third in the Daytona 500, going into turn 3. Watching his son and brand new team driver at DEI, Michael Waltrip, running first and second. Waltrip about to win his first Cup race. So Waltrip made it across the start-finish line first. Dale Jr. right behind him in second place. Dale Sr., he wasn't able to complete the trifecta. He never made it back across the start-finish line. In what literally was the saddest day the sport has ever seen, when everyone would have been thrilled to see Mikey finally win his first ever career Cup Series race after 462 starts without a victory, the world could only cry and ask why. This video is a career retrospective of who some would say is the best driver in NASCAR history. We, the fans, hell, the entire sport, miss him every day. Every race weekend, his presence is still felt among the sport, 21 years later. That's how much he meant to the world of NASCAR. So here we go, from the humble beginnings all the way through. I hope y'all enjoy this video, and it's dedicated to the entire Earnhardt family. Born April 29, 1951, to Ralph Lee Earnhardt and Martha Earnhardt, in Kannapolis, North Carolina, named Ralph Dale Earnhardt. Dale's father, Ralph, or Ironheart, as some will call him on the short track local circuit. He spent lots of time watching his father race and work on engines and such. He completed the 8th grade, but he dropped out in the 9th grade. Now this made his father very mad. As any good parent, he wanted Dale to finish high school. Nonetheless, he and his father worked together to get Dale out on the racetrack. His first ever race car was a 1956 pink Ford sedan. His father built the engine, and he raced on the local dirt tracks around Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, of course, we know he was a racer, but he also was a human, Turns out, he also had a love life. He married his first wife, Latine Brown, in 1968 at the age of 17. 1 year later, Earnhardt had his first son, Kerry Earnhardt. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out, and they divorced in 1970. Then in 1971, Dale turned around and married his second wife, Brenda G., the daughter of legendary NASCAR car builder, Robert G. Now, much like his previous marriage, this one ended in divorce as well in 1976, but the couple did have 2 children while they were together, his daughter Kelly and his son Dale Jr. Sadly, during this marriage, Earnhardt's father, Ralph, suddenly passed away of a heart attack. Due to this, Dale was given basically his dad's entire racing outfit, both the equipment and the business side of it. Then in 1975, he made his first start in the Cup Series. The car he was running was a number 8 Dodge Charger, owned by Ed Negra. He qualified 33rd out of 40 drivers. Now, by no means was he ever really up front and seen that much, but still, he was running at the end, albeit 45 laps down. He still was a solid 22nd place. The following 3 seasons, he continued part-time in the Cup Series. Then the following season, after his debut in the sport, Earnhardt came back in 1976 to run the World 600 again. This year, he started 25th, and he finished 31st. This year, he drove the number 30, owned by Walter Ballard. Then at the conclusion of the 76 season, he got a ride behind the wheel of the number 77, owned by Johnny Ray, with the legendary crew chief Buddy Parrott on top of the box. That race, they qualified 16th, and they finished 19th. Following season in 77, he only ran 1 race. This was the fall race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He was in the number 19 this year, with Henley Gray as the owner. Unfortunately, the team had a mechanical failure, and after only 25 laps, they were out. They started 36th, and they finished 38th. In 1978, finally, things started to pick up a little bit for Dale. Will Cronkite gave him a ride in the number 96 car that he owned. Now, they ran 4 races, Dale was finally able to basically find his way in a cup car, running very competitive in comparison with basically his previous efforts. Earnhardt finally scored his first ever top 10 with a 7th place effort in the summer race at Daytona. His other 3 starts, he finished 17th or better each time. At the final race of the season at Atlanta, Dale hooked up with a businessman by the name of Rod Osterlund. This is a man that really did change his career and gave him an opportunity to really show how much talent he had. In the first race together, Earnhardt had his best results yet, starting 10th and finishing 4th in a number 98 car. This was definitely a sign of things to come. So in 1979, at the age of 28, Earnhardt got behind the wheel of Rod Osterlund's number 2, and boy did he impress. His first full-time season, he won 4 poles and won his first career race in the spring race at Bristol. He was fortunate enough to have Jake Elder on the box as the crew chief. He had a very good season with 1 win, 11 top 5s, and 18 top 10s, as well as pulling down Rookie of the Year honors. A fantastic beginning to an amazing, legendary career. Now, one man who helped get this team off the ground was Suitcase Jake Elder. Now, he did start arguing with a couple team members, and much like his nickname, he packed his suitcase and left the team. Doug Reichert came in and took over as the crew chief, and the team was awesome. 5 wins, 19 top 5s, and 24 top 10s out of a 31 race season. With these awesome stats, he was able to secure his first ever Cup Series championship. The following year, in 81, he was not at all able to defend the title the way I'm certain that he intended to do. Now, there are several versions of exactly why things played out the way they did. The facts are that Earnhardt drove for Osterlund the first 16 races of that season. Osterlund was having financial issues before the season even began. Therefore, midway through the 1981 season, Osterlund had to sell his team to J.D. Stacy. Dale only ran 4 more races with this team due to the fact the relationship between Dale and J.D. just didn't work. The remaining 11 events, Earnhardt ran for Richard Childress. Childress was a driver in the Cup Series, but as an owner driver, he could only get as far as the price of equipment was rising. Childress needed a sponsor badly, and Earnhardt, having Wrangler, who sponsored not the team he was on, but actually was his own sponsor wherever he went. Now, he was not only a friend and a championship driver, but he also brought what he needed. Now, in 1981, he needed to find a solid spot to land because it wasn't really working out with Richard Childress. And that solid spot to land was with Bud Moore in his number 15. Now, with Wrangler as a sponsorship, it came with Earnhardt. That's what it was, the number 15 Wrangler. He did not have the car underneath him that he needed to be as successful as he could be. We're talking 18 different mechanical failures throughout the season. Earnhardt was, on the other hand, able to snag a pole at the Atlanta spring race, followed by his only victory in the 82 season with Bud Moore. So that leaves him with 1 win, 7 top 5s, and 12 top 10s, on his way to a 12th place in the final series point standings. He also got married to his 3rd and final wife, Teresa. In 83, they stayed together and got a little bit better results, with 2 wins, 9 top 5s, and 13 top 10s, on the way to a top 10 in the points, finishing 8th. This is a team with reasonable results, but with Bud Moore as the crew chief, making all the calls. The problem was that Moore was just kind of stuck in the past. And it's not a disrespectful thing. It's just he wasn't comfortable with the evolving, changes in the setups that the sport was bringing. Then, here's the jumping off point. Childress made some upgrades to his team and the two came back together to reunite one of the best owner-driver marriages of all time. No one knew that at the time, but over the next decade, the world would definitely come to realize. So in '84, they scored 2 victories, 12 top 5s, and 22 top 10s on their way to a top 5 in points, finishing 4th. Next, in '85, they won 4 races, had 10 top 5s, and 16 top 10s. At Bristol, he was able to start on the pole and go to victory lane. As far as the point finish, they cooled off a little bit, coming home 8th. So the next couple of seasons, they belonged to Dale Earnhardt. In 1986 and '87, he was able to recapture the championship both years. In '86, he sat on the pole in Atlanta and got 5 wins. In '87, he won 11 more times. In '86, he got 16 top 5s and 23 top 10s. In '87, he was able to earn 21 top 5s and 28 top 10s. By winning 4 consecutive races in 5 of the first 7 races, along with the fact in the '87 All-Star race, Earnhardt was forced onto the infield grass for a moment, but still held the lead. It was referred to as the pass in the grass. A championship both years, finally Richard Childress Racing was a strong and capable organization. Now 37 years old, with a brand new sponsor in GM Goodwrench, as Wrangler had dropped its sponsorship at the conclusion of the '87 season, he was still able to show the world how talented he was. In 1988, Earnhardt was looking for a three-peat in his championship bid. In 29 races, the team scored 3 wins, 13 top 5s, and 19 top 10s. They ended up 3rd in points. Dale and his wife Teresa had a daughter named Taylor Nicole Earnhardt in that same year. Now in '89, it was pretty much close to the same, but he was able to find victory lane 2 more times, with 5 wins, 15 top 5s, and 19 top 10s, on his way to finishing the 1989 season in 2nd place in the Winston Cup Series point standings. A new decade, Father Time kept trudging forward like it does for everyone, but somehow this man find a way to really like wine to almost improve with age. Now by this point, Earnhardt had spent more than a decade at this level full time. And in that time, the fans and especially the drivers competing against Dale on the racetrack had gained an understanding of how and why he had been dubbed the Intimidator. So the 1990 season kicked off the decade, and he did so by winning 9 times, 18 top 5s and 23 top 10s. He even scored 4 poles. Then in '91, he won 4 more races, with 14 top 5s and 21 top 10s, winning back-to-back titles in '90 and '91. That now put him up to a whopping 5 championships. Then along came '92. This is a year of change for both the team statistically and personnel-wise. A year that was way down statistically, with only 1 win, 6 top 5s, and 15 top 10s, on his way to only finishing 12th in point standings. Yeah, y'all, I said it, 12th in series points. Now, his lone victory was in '92 at Charlotte in the World 600. Another giant change was the fact that he and his longtime crew chief, Kirk Shelmerdine, went their separate ways at the conclusion of the season. I'm sure it didn't help Dale's confidence, not in his driving abilities, but rather, where were they going to find another crew chief that would fit into the fold with him and his established championship-winning race team? Well, guys, no real reason to worry, as former Harry Gant crew chief Andy Petrie came aboard. That team came out of the box flying, like usual, with Dale winning his Gatorade 125 dual qualifying race at Daytona, and followed that up with 3 top 10s to start the year, on their way to 6 wins, 17 top 5s, and 21 top 10s that season, with 2 poles also. In '94, at the age of 43, he won 4 races, 20 top 5s, and 25 more top 10s, en route to another set of back-to-back championships, again in '93 and '94. And that means they won 4 out of 5 of the last 5 championships. That's insane numbers, guys. Then along came '95, with 5 wins, 19 top 5s, and 23 top 10s, along with 2 poles, narrowly missing the championship. I mean, had it not been for a guy named Jeff Gordon, he would have won his 8th title, for sure. And he would have been set all by himself with the most titles ever won by any driver. But in IROC, they're National Race of Champions, where superstars from each form of racing, all in equal cars, at most of the time, 4 different paved ovals. Typically 4 races make up the season for the series. In 1995, Earnhardt won his 2nd IROC title with 2 wins at Daytona and Talladega, and 3 top 5s and 3 top 10s. In 90, he also took the championship in IROC with 2 wins at Daytona and Michigan, and also a top 5 5th place finish. That year they only had 3 IROC races on the schedule. Also at the end of 1995, Andy Petrie left the team to form his own Cup Series team. In 96, Dale turned 45 years old, and to this point, nothing had really put any chinks in his armor. He was able to find a new crew chief in David Smith, a longtime crew member, and they started out with a 2nd place finish at Daytona, followed by a victory at Rockingham, then again 2 races later at Atlanta. Then at the 2nd Talladega race in 96, Earnhardt was involved in a horrible accident. He broke his collarbone and cracked his sternum. But in true Intimidator fashion, Dale was able to come back 2 weeks later and qualify on the pole and finish 6th at a road course, Watkins Glen. Now, man, he was a real tough customer. Then in 97, for the first time since 81, he went an entire season without visiting Victory Lane, even one time. No poles either. He did score 7 top 5s and 16 top 10s, en route to a 5th place finish in the points. This also was the first year Larry McReynolds came on board as crew chief. Then in the Xfinity Series, the team Dale Sr. owned, DEI, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, entered Dale Jr., his son, in 7 races to see if he was cut out for racing or not. Now in 1998, there at the beginning of the season, everyone held their breath the final few laps until Johnny Andretti was spinning down the backstretch and the yellow flag came out to end the race. Yep, Dale Earnhardt officially crossed the start-finish line, and it seemed as if the entire world started cheering. It really was a sight to see. Literally every single crew member from every single team was lined up on pit road to congratulate and to high-five the newly crowned Daytona 500 champion. In the famous line from Mike Joy, 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration, the race was Dale's favorite, and had always been the one thing in NASCAR that had eluded him until that day. It was incredible. Other than that, one amazing race in Daytona to open the 98 season, he wasn't able to find his way back to victory lane the remainder of that season. In 33 races that year, although he had 1 win, 5 top 5s, and 13 top 10s. Some people around the sport were starting their whisper campaigns about whether he was still the same after his injuries, coupled with the fact he was that old. Well, he answered back the following season. Plus, his son Dale Jr. was able to get his first of 2 championships in the Busch Series. He won 7 races in 98 with 16 top 5s and 22 top 10s. Jr. was driving a DEI number 3. It was the first championship DEI ever won. In 99, at 48 years old, Earnhardt started a somewhat surprising rejuvenation of his career. He was able to snag 3 wins, 7 top 5s, and 21 top 10s that year. Although, all that on his way to a 7th place points finish. He swept the Talladega races and also won the race where he tapped the left rear of Terry Labonte and set him for a spin in turn 4 at Bristol. Dale exited the turn and crossed the start-finish line to win the race. Instead of cheers, you actually heard boos when Earnhardt climbed out of his car in victory lane. That's where he delivered that well-known phrase. I didn't mean to spin him. I was trying to rattle his cage, though. On the Busch side of things, like I said, Dale Jr. nabbed his 2nd straight Busch Series title with 6 wins, 18 top 5s, and 22 top 10s. Jr. did make his Cup Series debut debuting his number 8 Budweiser Chevy, where he would be so synonymous with. He also landed his first ever career top 10 in the Cup Series with a 10th at Richmond in the 5-race schedule that he ran that year. The millennium, the year 2000, Y2K, turn of the century, whatever you'd like to call it. The drivers, it was just another season. This would be Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s first season. It would be his rookie season. And that would turn out to be his father, Dale Sr.'s final season. Sr. would finally be back to the racer all of us knew that he was. Close side-by-side battle with Bobby Labonte. And then in the fall, he came from 17th to 1st in the final lap, 5 laps, to win his final series race. In 2000, he won 2 races, got 13 top 5s, 24 top 10s, en route to a runner-up, second place, points finish. Now, he had finally healed from his injuries he had suffered, and on top of that, he had talked to Darrell Waltrip. He had mentioned to Darrell, "I've got it all right now, DW, I really do," referring to the fact that his son is on the circuit, running against him. He has his wife and his other young daughter, Nicole, all with him there in Daytona. Not to mention the fact that he had finally properly fleshed out DEI and surrounded by his friends just all around. He couldn't be better for him. February 18th, 2001. Dale Earnhardt kissed his wife Teresa for what ended up being the final time. Crawled into his race car, took the green, and began an assault on the Cup Series field. That 2001 Daytona 500. Then the last turn, Sterling Marlin and that number 40 Coors Light Silver Bullet Dodge, in what was Dodge's first race back in the sport since the 1970s. Marlin's Dodge got a nose underneath Earnhardt's car. They touched. Earnhardt overcorrected his car and slammed head-on into the concrete wall. No safer barriers back then, at all. Earnhardt collected the M&M's number 36 from Ken Schrader. To the crowd at the track and the millions watching at home, it didn't look that bad, but it was. In fact, it was the worst. I'll never forget the time Mike Helton stood up in front of all those microphones and simply said, with a tear in his eye and a crack in his voice, "We've lost the greatest driver to ever live. We've lost Dale Earnhardt." In his wake, some good and some bad things transpired. The good, or the bad, was Teresa handled the business side of DEI, and the decades-long face between her and Dale's children, Carrie, Kelly, and Dale Jr., it was horrible how that ended up. The good was by far the safety measures that the sport holds itself to now. Since Dale, we haven't had a single fatality from any on-track incidents. Every one of us miss him. I'm just thankful we had an opportunity to build some amazing memories with this amazing driver. Take care, guys.